It was a quiet morning in Willow Creek Estates, the kind of neighborhood where hedges stood taller than secrets and everyone pretended they didn't see what they saw. Marissa Dalton parked her gray sedan beside the community gate, tapping the steering wheel as the HOA guard approached. His uniform was crisp, his stance professional, and his sunglasses reflected her impatient face. She rolled down the window halfway. "Hi, I'm here for the house showing on Oak Ridge Lane." The guard nodded, flipping through his clipboard. "Name: Marissa Dalton." He scribbled something, then raised his head. For a fleeting second their eyes met, hers uncertain, his unreadable. Something about his voice tugged at her memory. It wasn't what he said, it was the way he said it. "All right, Ms. Dalton, you're cleared. Drive straight, second left, third house on the right." She thanked him, but her voice faltered as she looked back in the rearview mirror. The guard had turned away, shoulders rigid, almost familiar. Marissa shook it off. Maybe it was just déjà vu. After all, she'd been seeing familiar faces in strangers for 10 years, ever since her brother vanished without a trace. The house was beautiful but empty, like every property she'd toured for the past 6 months. Marissa wasn't really looking for a house, she was searching for peace. She left her teaching job, moved across states, and started fresh. But peace was a myth, especially when every quiet street reminded her of Ethan. Her brother had disappeared when she was 21. He was 19, rebellious, funny, protective in a big brother way despite being younger. One night he'd told her he was going to fix something and never came home. Police found his car near an abandoned lot. No fingerprints, no body, no closure. And so Marissa lived with an open wound that time refused to heal. She stepped outside, inhaling the smell of trimmed grass. Then she noticed the guard again, standing across the street, talking into a radio but glancing toward her. That same stance, that same tilt of the head, her chest tightened. When he turned, she caught a clear glimpse of his jawline. Her heart skipped. No, it couldn't be. Her brother was dead, she accepted that years ago. Still, she walked toward the gatehouse later that day under the pretense of returning the visitor's pass. The guard was inside, reading a notebook, his face partially hidden by the booth's shadow. "Excuse me," she said softly. He looked up, startled. For a moment she saw a flicker of panic, then control. "Yes, ma'am." Her breath hitched. "Do I know you?" He gave a short laugh. "Don't think so, I've only been here a few months." His voice calm, deep but strained, like he was forcing each word through a wall. She smiled weakly. "You look like someone I used to know." "That happens a lot." He looked away quickly, ending the conversation. Marissa stood there, frozen between disbelief and denial. Then she noticed something, a thin scar along his wrist, a scar shaped like a small crescent. Ethan had that scar, from when they were kids, when he'd fallen off a bike. Her pulse thundered. That night she sat in her car across from the gatehouse, watching him. His routine was mechanical log entries, patrol rounds, brief radio calls. But occasionally he'd pause and stare into the distance like a man who didn't belong anywhere. At midnight she saw him light a cigarette, lean against the wall, and pull something from his pocket. A photograph. Even from a distance, Marissa could tell it was worn and folded. He stared at it like it was the last thing holding him to this world. She didn't need to see it clearly, she knew that photo, because it was the same one she kept in her wallet, a childhood picture of her and Ethan at the county fair. Her vision blurred. If this was a coincidence, it was a cruel one. The next morning, she drove to the HOA office under a fabricated pretense, claiming to be interested in renting. The receptionist, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyeliner and sharper tone, gave her a bright smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Security guard, you mean Daniel Brooks?" she asked. Marissa's heart trembled. "Yes, Daniel. How long has he been here?" "About 8 months. He's quiet, keeps to himself, lives in one of the old maintenance units behind the clubhouse. Good worker, but odd." "Odd?" The woman hesitated. "Well, he avoids everyone, no background references. The HOA chair, Mr. Vaughn, hired him directly, said he was a recommendation, that's all I know." Marissa thanked her, but as she walked out her mind raced. No records, hired quietly, living alone in a maintenance shed. It didn't add up. That evening she parked near the clubhouse, pretending to take photos of the neighborhood for research. As twilight deepened, she saw him again, Daniel, or whoever he really was, locking up a shed behind the pool area. She stepped closer, hiding behind a row of hedges. Through the slightly open door, she saw a cot, a small desk, and a stack of envelopes, each one labeled with a date. And on the wall, pinned next to a map of Willow Creek, was a list of names. HOA board members. Some were crossed out. A cold wave rippled through her body. What was this? Then she saw something else, another photo on the desk, her and Ethan again, but this one was recent, a photo she'd posted on Facebook last year. Her breath caught. He had been watching her. A twig snapped behind her, she froze. When she turned, he was standing there. Daniel or Ethan? His face in the moonlight looked half familiar, half strange, the kind of face time could twist but not erase. "What are you doing here?" he asked, voice low but not angry, just tired. She couldn't speak. "Why do you have that photo?" she finally whispered. He didn't answer right away, instead he looked past her, scanning the shadows. "You shouldn't be here, it's not safe." She stepped closer. "Ethan." The name hit him like a bullet. He stiffened, eyes glistening for a second before he turned away. "You have the wrong person," he said quietly. "No, I don't," her voice broke. "You disappeared 10 years ago, they said you were dead, I buried an empty casket." He took a deep breath, jaw clenched. "Please, Marissa, leave before they see you." "They, who are you talking about?" He didn't answer, instead he looked toward the clubhouse. A dark SUV had pulled up near the gate, two men stepping out. "Go," he whispered, "now." But she didn't move. "Ethan, what's going on? Tell me the truth." He grabbed her hand, his grip trembling. "I can't, not here, they're watching everything, come back tomorrow morning, near the old maintenance trail behind the tennis courts, alone." Then he pushed her gently toward her car and turned away. Marissa drove home numb. Her brother, if it really was him, was alive, but hiding, and clearly in danger. She tried to sleep. But every sound outside made her jump. The SUV, the list of names, the crossed out lines. What was Ethan involved in? By sunrise she'd made her choice, she would go. The trail behind the tennis courts was quiet, lined with tall pines and overgrown grass. The morning mist hung thick, blurring the edges of everything. She waited near the broken fence, heart pounding with every minute that passed. Then she saw him emerge from the fog, the same uniform, the same eyes, haunted but soft when they met hers. "You shouldn't have come," he said again. "Then why tell me to?" He sighed, pulling off his sunglasses. "Because you deserve to know the truth, but after this you leave, promise me." "I'm not leaving until you tell me what happened." He looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. "Fine, but keep your voice down." He glanced around, then leaned closer. "When I disappeared, it wasn't an accident. I found something the HOA's been hiding." Her pulse spiked. "What do you mean?" He hesitated. "Willow Creek isn't just a community, it's a front. The HOA's been laundering money through shell maintenance projects, fake repairs, inflated invoices. I found proof years ago, back when I worked for a contractor tied to them. They tried to silence me." "Silence you?" she whispered. He nodded. "The night I vanished, I was supposed to meet someone with evidence, but they found me first. I barely got away, changed my name, new identity. I've been hiding in plain sight ever since, waiting for a chance to bring them down." Marissa's throat tightened. "And now you're here working for them." "It's the only way to expose them from the inside," he said. "But you showing up," he paused, eyes full of fear. "They'll suspect something now." "But you can't do this alone, you need help." He shook his head. "You don't understand how deep this goes. Vaughn, the HOA president, he's not just a corrupt man, he's dangerous. He's already gotten rid of people who asked too many questions." Her eyes widened, the crossed out names. Ethan nodded grimly. "Board members who started doubting him, they resigned, officially, but one died in a car crash last month. Another moved away overnight, no trace." Marissa felt the air leave her lungs. "Ethan, you need to go to the police." "I tried," he said bitterly. "The local chief's in on it, they control everyone in this town." Silence stretched between them, heavy and suffocating. Finally she spoke. "Then I'll help you." He stared at her, eyes pleading. "Don't, Marissa, you have a life, leave this behind." She took a step closer. "You're my brother, I lost you once, I'm not losing you again." He looked away, jaw trembling. Then we have to move fast. Before he could say more, a sharp voice cut through the trees. Daniel. They both turned. Mr. Vaughn stood at the end of the path, tall, immaculately dressed, holding a phone in one hand and a cold smile on his face. Mind introducing me to your visitor? Ethan's face drained of color. Marissa's heart pounded. Vaughn's gaze shifted between them, lingering on Ethan. You were right, Daniel, the neighborhood's full of surprises, but I must say this one's interesting. Ethan stepped in front of her, shielding her. She was just lost, sir, took a wrong turn. Vaughn chuckled softly. Lost? Oh, I doubt that. You see, I checked the visitor logs this morning. Ms. Dalton's name didn't appear today. Marissa froze. He smiled wider. So tell me, Daniel, why would your sister be sneaking around private property? The word sister dropped like a bomb. Ethan's hand tensed. Marissa's blood ran cold. He knew Vaughn knew. And the look in his eyes wasn't curiosity, it was control. Vaughn stepped closer, his tone smooth as silk but sharp as a blade. You've been a loyal guard, Daniel, quiet, efficient, I respected that, but lying. He sighed dramatically. That disappoints me. Ethan's voice was low. She's got nothing to do with this. Oh, I think she does, Vaughn's eyes glinted. Because now she knows you're not who you say you are, and if she knows, well, so might others. Marissa's stomach twisted. What do you want? Ethan asked. Vaughn smiled thinly. Oh, I don't want anything, not yet, but you should both remember Willow Creek takes care of its own and of those who don't belong. He turned to leave but paused. I'll see you both at the HOA meeting tomorrow night. We'll discuss your future. Then he walked away, phone pressed to his ear, voice fading into the distance. Ethan stood motionless, fists clenched. Marissa whispered, What are we going to do? He looked at her, eyes full of dread. We're out of time. The morning sun barely broke through the thick mist as Marissa and Ethan returned to their small rented apartment on the outskirts of Willow Creek. Neither spoke on the drive back. The tension hung heavy, more suffocating than the night air. Vaughn's words repeated themselves in Marissa's mind like a mantra she couldn't escape. Willow Creek takes care of its own and of those who don't belong. She parked the car and stared at Ethan. He sat in the driver's seat, fists still clenched on the steering wheel, jaw tight with rage and fear. You have to tell me everything, she said softly. Ethan exhaled, running his hands through his hair. I'll try, but it's complicated. The moment I start, we need to be careful. Vaughn, he's connected. To the cops, the contractors, even some neighbors. People who seem normal, they're watching. They always are. Marissa swallowed hard. How did you survive all these years after disappearing? He glanced at her, eyes shadowed with memories. I had to vanish completely. Changed my name, moved between towns, took every job that gave me access to the HOA's operations. Anything to keep tabs on Vaughn, the board, everyone involved in the shell contracts. It's how I knew who was safe and who was. I've been watching them, planning, but it's been lonely. Ethan, you've been living like this all alone. He looked away, voice low. Better alone than dead. Some nights I think I made the wrong choice, but if I hadn't, you'd be in danger too. You have no idea what Vaughn is capable of. Marissa clenched her hands, fury mixing with fear. Then we do this together, whatever it takes. Ethan's eyes softened, but the warning stayed. We have to be careful. They can't know we're planning anything yet, not until we have proof. Until then, blend in, act like normal residents. Gather intel quietly. One mistake and he didn't finish, but the implication was clear: death, ruin, or worse. That evening, they returned to Willow Creek under the cover of dusk. Marissa had never felt more like a stranger in a familiar place. The gated community seemed harmless enough, children riding bikes, couples walking dogs, but behind the smiles and manicured lawns, danger lurked. They parked at the end of Oak Ridge Lane and waited. Ethan pointed toward a camera mounted on a light pole. That records the entire street. They've got facial recognition now. Every car that passes is logged, every visitor. We need a new strategy. Marissa frowned. You've been here this long and never got caught. He smirked briefly. I learned to be invisible. You don't get 8 months inside an HOA without being a ghost. She followed him as he led the way down a narrow trail behind the tennis courts. Overgrown grass brushed their legs and the faint smell of pine mixed with damp earth. The trail ended at a small maintenance shed, the door barely secured with a rusted padlock. Ethan picked the lock with a practiced flick of his wrist. See, old school tech, they think everyone obeys rules blindly, easy to bypass when no one expects it. Marissa swallowed. Why keep living here if it's so dangerous? He paused, scanning the shadows. Because this is the only way I can watch Vaughn closely. If I move away, he'll suspect and he'll bury the evidence deeper. I've been waiting for the right moment to expose him, and now with you back. Marissa didn't finish the thought. She didn't want to admit how terrified she was. Inside the shed, Ethan had transformed the small room into a command center. Old filing cabinets lined one wall, labeled meticulously. Maps of the community were pinned to a corkboard. Photographs, receipts, and documents were scattered across a small table. A laptop hummed quietly in the corner. "This is incredible," Marissa breathed. He gestured to the documents. Everything Vaughn's done over the past decade. Contracts, inflated invoices, shell companies. Most of the board thinks they're making renovations or repairs, but it's all a front for embezzlement and money laundering. I've been collecting proof, piece by piece. She ran her fingers over a receipt from a repairs company that didn't exist. All this time you've been exposing them quietly. Ethan nodded. Quietly, yes, but now they know you're involved. Vaughn will suspect, and that means he'll tighten his control. Cameras, patrols, everything. We don't have much time. A sudden noise outside made them both freeze. Footsteps, low voices. Ethan motioned for Marissa to hide behind the filing cabinets. The shed door creaked as someone tried the handle, locked. "You're early," a male voice muttered. "Check the perimeter, I swear he's hiding something." Marissa's heart thumped in her chest. Ethan peeked through a small window. "Vaughn's men are out there, don't move." They waited in silence until the footsteps faded. Only when the sound of tires crunching over gravel disappeared did Ethan exhale. "That was too close," he said, voice low. "They're getting suspicious, we need a new plan." Marissa's mind raced. "We can't just hide here forever. Vaughn's not going to stop. How do we beat him?" Ethan's eyes darkened. "We go public, expose the evidence, but we need the right moment, the right proof, and if Vaughn finds out first," he shook his head, "then there's no coming back." Over the next few days, Marissa and Ethan worked in secret, collecting everything they could. Every invoice, email, and contract they photographed or scanned. Every conversation they overheard, every schedule they recorded. Marissa marveled at her brother's meticulous nature. He knew the routines of every guard, every HOA member, even the maintenance staff. They planned every move to avoid cameras, to avoid detection. But as they dug deeper, Marissa began to realize the scale of the corruption. Vaughn wasn't just greedy, he was ruthless. A previous board member had mysteriously disappeared. Another had resigned only to be found dead months later in a supposed accident. And the contractors, they were all shell companies with fake workers, faked receipts, and fake inspections. The more they uncovered, the more dangerous it became. One night, while photographing invoices hidden in the HOA office, a shadow fell across the hallway. "Marissa," Ethan whispered, grabbing her arm. They ducked into a supply closet just as the door creaked open. Vaughn's assistant, a tall man with glasses, entered, checking papers with a flashlight. Marissa's heart raced. Every muscle screamed to run, but Ethan held her tight. The assistant muttered something under his breath and left. Ethan exhaled, shaking. "That was too close," he said. "They're onto something. Vaughn knows someone watching him. He's tightening security." Marissa swallowed. "How much longer can we keep this up?" Ethan's eyes met hers. "Until we get enough proof to take him down. One mistake and..." He didn't finish. The tension peaked the night Ethan decided to test the HOA board's security network. He had discovered that all the surveillance cameras could be hacked remotely, enough to monitor their movements without detection. Marissa watched as her brother tapped into the network from a laptop hidden under the bleachers of the tennis courts. "Why are you showing me this?" she asked. "Because you need to understand," Ethan said. "We're not just fighting corruption, we're fighting a man who will do anything to protect his empire, and you're part of this now." Marissa nodded, adrenaline and fear mixing. "Then let's finish this." They spent hours monitoring cameras, mapping patrols, recording suspicious movements. Vaughn's presence was almost constant, yet distant, always watching, never revealing too much. Finally, as dawn approached, Ethan turned to her. We've gathered enough to start planning, but tonight we rest, tomorrow the real work begins. Marissa felt a mixture of relief and dread. She had her brother back, yes, but the man she had returned to her life was not the same Ethan she had lost 10 years ago. He was hardened, haunted, and carrying secrets that could kill them both. As they left the shed, the first rays of sunlight cut through the mist. Marissa felt a chill. Somewhere in the neighborhood, Vaughn was already plotting his next move. And they were running out of time. That evening, as Marissa lay awake, she replayed the events in her mind. Vaughn's words echoed in her head. Willow Creek takes care of its own and of those who don't belong. If he was right, then she and Ethan were targets. Every move, every step they took would be watched, and Vaughn wouldn't hesitate to eliminate anyone standing in his way. The thought of losing Ethan again, this time permanently, made her chest tighten with fear. But she also felt a spark of determination. 10 years of searching for him, and now he was here. They had a chance to fight back, to bring the truth to light. All they had to do was survive. The next morning, Ethan approached her with a map, eyes dark but resolute. Today, we make contact with someone outside the HOA, a journalist who can help us expose everything, but it's risky. Vaughn will notice if we're careless. Marissa's heart pounded. Then we don't make a mistake. Ethan nodded. Exactly. One wrong move and we're done. As they set out, shadows moved in the distance. Cars parked along streets, cameras on poles, neighbors walking dogs. Everything seemed normal, but nothing was. Because Willow Creek was watching. And Vaughn knew. Ethan led Marissa down a quiet street that ran along the edge of Willow Creek Estates. The early morning fog clung to the pavement, muffling the sounds of the neighborhood. Every rustle, every distant bark of a dog made Marissa's nerves tighten. She felt like a hunted animal walking in broad daylight. I know a journalist, Ethan whispered. Someone who can get this story out, but he's cautious. He doesn't trust anyone, and for good reason. The HOA, they've buried people who spoke too soon. Marissa nodded, gripping her jacket tighter. Then we have to prove it to him. Ethan glanced around, ensuring no one was watching. We can't go through normal channels. They're monitoring phones, emails, everything. We meet him at the old train depot 2 miles from here. Abandoned building, minimal cameras. Marissa's stomach flipped. Abandoned, it sounds dangerous. Ethan's expression was grim. It is, but it's safe compared to the alternative, being tracked inside the HOA. They arrived at the depot. Rusted tracks disappeared into shadows, the building sagging with age and neglect. Inside, the air was thick with dust. Sunlight spilled through broken windows, painting jagged lines across the floor. A man emerged from the shadows, a tall figure in a worn coat carrying a leather satchel. His eyes scanned them carefully before resting on Ethan. You Daniel, the man asked. Yes, but my name doesn't matter, Ethan said. We need to talk alone. The journalist, whose name was Simon, studied Marissa. And this is my sister. She's part of this now, Ethan replied, eyes alert. Simon raised an eyebrow, his gaze sharp. You drag your family into this mess. Marissa swallowed, keeping her voice steady. I'm not leaving him. I found him. I'm here, that's all. Simon nodded, seemingly accepting it, but the scrutiny in his eyes didn't leave. They settled in a corner of the depot. Ethan opened his laptop and began pulling up files, invoices, and photographs. Each click, each document told the story of corruption, shell companies, fake contractors, inflated invoices, and the disappearing board members. Marissa could feel Simon's tension growing as he scanned the documents. This is extensive, he muttered. If this goes public, it's going to blow up, but how do you even prove it? The HOA is meticulous, they hide everything. Ethan leaned back, rubbing his eyes. We've been gathering proof for months. Every transaction, every fake invoice, every email chain. We just need to package it properly and expose Vaughn before he realizes what we have. Simon nodded slowly. All right, but we need a plan. You can't just release this tomorrow. It'll tip him off immediately. Ethan looked at Marissa, eyes fierce. Exactly, that's why we need to be careful. Vaughn's men are everywhere. Cameras, patrols, even neighbors. One slip and it's over. Marissa felt a chill, over like before. Ethan didn't answer immediately. The weight of unspoken history hung between them. Simon broke the silence. We need a secure way to transfer these files, something untraceable. If Vaughn catches wind of this, he'll destroy everything and probably come after you too. Ethan nodded. I've already set up encrypted drives, but we'll need a secure drop-off, somewhere he won't find us. Marissa watched him, heart pounding. She couldn't believe how much danger they were in. The brother she remembered, the one who used to prank her and protect her, was gone, replaced by a man hardened by years of hiding, paranoia, and near-death experiences. They worked through the morning, compiling documents, photographs, and recordings. Simon asked meticulous questions, checking each file for authenticity. Finally, after hours of work, Simon leaned back. All right, I have everything I need to start the story, but this is dangerous. Vaughn is powerful. He controls people, cameras, the police. You can't stay in Willow Creek for much longer. He'll know something's up soon. Marissa's stomach dropped. Leave. We can't just leave. We need to finish this. Simon shook his head. If you're caught, nothing gets finished. You'll be dead or worse, disappeared like so many others. I need you to stay hidden at least until the story runs. Vaughn's influence doesn't end with his HOA board. Ethan ran a hand over his face, tension radiating from him. We can't wait too long, he's already suspicious. The visit yesterday, he knows something's different. He'll step up surveillance, check cameras, patrol patterns. Marissa's mind raced. Vaughn had seen her with Ethan. He knew she was involved. And now she realized every step they took could be monitored. Simon stood. I'll coordinate from a distance. You two stay hidden, move cautiously, and don't trust anyone. This is bigger than you think. If Vaughn gets even a hint. He let the words hang in the air, unspoken threats thick in the dusty room. Ethan closed the laptop, face pale. We'll need to split up for a while. Marissa, you go back to the apartment, lay low. I'll continue gathering intel inside the HOA. Marissa felt a knot in her stomach. Split up, Ethan, we're a team. He reached for her hand, squeezing it. I know, but it's safer this way. Vaughn can't suspect both of us at once. You stay safe, I'll handle the rest. We reunite when the moment is right. Promise me you'll be careful. Her chest tightened. Promise. That night, Marissa returned to the apartment alone. She checked every lock, every window, listening for sounds outside, but the silence was oppressive, almost mocking. Vaughn's influence reached everywhere. Even in the quiet streets outside, she felt eyes on her. She turned on her laptop and reviewed the documents Ethan had sent her through an encrypted drive. Every line of corruption, every fake invoice, every suspicious contract made her stomach churn. Vaughn wasn't just greedy, he was ruthless, and he would stop at nothing to protect himself. Hours passed in tense silence, interrupted only by her phone vibrating occasionally with encrypted messages from Ethan. Each one was brief, updates on patrols, suspicious neighbors, cameras, or minor discoveries. Then, at 2 a.m., she saw movement outside the window. A black SUV idling down the street, headlights off, engine humming softly. Her pulse skyrocketed. Marissa grabbed her phone and encrypted it. She sent a quick message to Ethan, SUV outside, watch, something's happening. No reply. Fear gripped her. Vaughn had eyes everywhere. The SUV moved slowly down the street, stopping directly in front of the apartment complex. The door opened and a tall man stepped out, scanning the area. Marissa ducked behind the curtains, heart hammering in her chest. She could barely breathe. Every instinct screamed to run, but there was nowhere to go. Vaughn's reach had trapped her. Suddenly, a soft ping on her encrypted phone. A message from Ethan, stay calm, lock all doors, don't make a sound, I'm on my way. Minutes felt like hours. The man outside lingered, walking slowly, methodically. Every step seemed calculated. Marissa's hands shook. She thought about Ethan, about how he had survived all these years. How he had hidden in plain sight, planning, waiting, and now he was coming for her, risking everything to ensure she stayed alive. Finally, headlights flashed in the distance. Ethan's black sedan appeared, engine low, approaching the SUV. He didn't stop. Instead, he pulled alongside the man, rolled down his window, and shouted something. The man jumped back, startled. Then Ethan's car peeled away into the darkness, Marissa following in a daze. The SUV didn't give chase, just idled in the street before slowly driving off. When they reached the old maintenance shed behind the tennis courts, Ethan jumped out. Are you okay? He demanded. Marissa nodded, breathless. Yes, but what was that? They were scouting. Vaughn sent someone to check if you were in the apartment. He knows you're involved now. We need to move fast. Marissa's stomach sank. Move where? Ethan's eyes were dark but determined. Out of Willow Creek. We finish this from a safe location. The evidence goes public and Vaughn loses everything, but we need to leave before he realizes what we have. Marissa swallowed hard, and the journalist. Simon is already prepping the story. We just need to deliver the files and stay alive until it publishes. Once it does, Vaughn's control ends. Marissa nodded, determination hardening her fear. They had come too far to stop now. Ethan put a hand on her shoulder. Are you ready? She looked at him, eyes blazing. I'm ready, let's end this. And for the first time in 10 years, Marissa felt the hope that her brother, the real Ethan, was back. But they both knew Vaughn would not give up without a fight. The sun was just peeking over the horizon as Marissa and Ethan drove in silence, leaving the confines of Willow Creek Estates behind. The neighborhood they had grown up in, or rather, the neighborhood that had become a cage, disappeared in the distance, replaced by open roads and fog-draped fields. For 10 years, Ethan had been a ghost, a shadow moving through his own life, hiding in plain sight. And now, finally, they were both moving toward freedom or toward danger. Marissa's hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, knuckles white, her heart hammering as she replayed every moment inside Willow Creek. They know, she whispered, breaking the silence. Vaughn knows we're leaving. Ethan didn't answer immediately, his jaw tightened. They always know more than you think. Cameras, phone taps, even neighbors who pretend to be friendly. Vaughn's network is everywhere, but if we keep moving, we can outpace him. Marissa swallowed, and the journalist, are we sure Simon can handle this? He can, Ethan said firmly. He's cautious, clever. By the time Vaughn realizes what's happening, the evidence will be public. That's when it ends. Vaughn can't control the truth once it's out. Her eyes scanned the horizon. For the first time in years, she saw the world outside her brother's shadowed life, but danger still lurked behind them, invisible and unrelenting. They reached the safe house Simon had arranged, a small, unremarkable building on the outskirts of town. It looked abandoned, but inside it was secure. Computers hummed, documents were neatly stacked, and encrypted drives lined a small shelf. The air smelled faintly of coffee and old paper. Simon was already there, eyes sharp, scanning monitors displaying live feeds from various locations. They're mobilizing, he said, not looking up. Cameras, SUVs, patrols. Vaughn knows you left Willow Creek. He's tracking movements, trying to predict your next step. But this house is clean. No signals, no trackers, you're safe for now. Ethan set the laptop on a table and began uploading the files they had collected for months. Each document, every photograph, every email chain was being encrypted and transferred to secure cloud storage, ready for public release. Marissa hovered nearby, watching. She realized the weight of what they were doing. Vaughn's corruption wasn't just financial, it was systemic. He had controlled the neighborhood, the board, even the police. Exposing him would shake everything they knew about Willow Creek. Simon finally looked up. We're ready. Once this goes live, there's no turning back. Vaughn will be furious. He'll try to discredit us, threaten us, maybe even send people after you. But the evidence is airtight. If he touches a single document or person to interfere, it's criminal. Ethan nodded. We'll need to coordinate. Marissa, you stay with Simon. I'll monitor Vaughn's reactions, see if he tries anything. We keep communication secure. Timing is everything. Marissa felt the tension in the room tighten. For so long, she had been waiting to find Ethan, but now that he was back, alive, and leading her into a dangerous world she barely understood, she realized just how fragile life could be. Hours later, the upload was complete. Simon leaned back, exhaling. It's done. In 15 minutes, the story goes live. Vaughn won't know what hit him until it's too late. All we have to do is stay safe. Ethan rubbed his face, exhaustion written on every line. We need to anticipate his reaction. Vaughn won't go quietly. He'll try to retaliate, intimidate, maybe even frame us. We need contingency plans. Marissa's stomach churned. Do you think he'll come after us? Ethan glanced at her, eyes hard but protective. He might, but he can't touch the evidence now. The public will see everything. Once that happens, Vaughn loses control, and I promise you he'll never get you. The first notification pinged. The story had gone live. The headline glared across the monitor. Exclusive, Willow Creek HOA corruption exposed, hidden shell companies and embezzlement uncovered. Instantly, social media erupted. Shares, tweets, and comments flooded the web. Local news picked it up. National outlets began calling. Vaughn's carefully constructed facade was crumbling before their eyes. Simon looked at Ethan and Marissa. He knows immediately, expect moves. He'll try to spin this, deny it, maybe even threaten anyone involved, but the evidence is too strong. This is bigger than him now. Marissa's eyes filled with tears. We did it, we actually did it. Ethan put a hand on her shoulder. Not done yet, we need to make sure he can't touch anyone, can't cover up. Once the story is out, people will start asking questions. Board members, contractors, anyone involved, that's when the dominoes fall. Back in Willow Creek, Vaughn paced his office, phone pressed to his ear, voice icy. What do you mean the story is live? Who authorized this? Find them, track them, do not let them leave the county. The camera pans in Marissa's mind as she imagined him. 10 years of control, power, fear. And now everything's slipping. Ethan monitored Vaughn's reactions through indirect contacts. He's panicking, he said. The board is starting to ask questions, contractors are calling each other, his empire is unraveling. Marissa's hands shook with relief and lingering fear. So it's over. Ethan shook his head. Not yet, he's dangerous, but the story has the momentum now. He can't hide and he can't silence everyone. Public eyes are on him. Simon watched the live feeds of social media showing public outrage, news coverage, and legal authorities preparing investigations. It's beautiful, he murmured. Corruption exposed, truth revealed, but you two are still targets. Vaughn won't give up until he's cornered. Marissa's stomach tightened again. Then what do we do? Ethan looked at her, eyes filled with a mixture of exhaustion and determination. We stay ahead, keep moving, stay protected. We watch Vaughn fall, and then we reclaim our lives. That evening, the first dominoes began to fall. Local authorities opened investigations into the HOA, board members were interrogated, contractors were subpoenaed. Vaughn's carefully constructed empire began collapsing. Marissa sat in the safe house, phone buzzing nonstop with notifications, articles, and messages. Ethan stood by the window, scanning the streets outside, alert as ever. Finally, a moment of calm fell over the house. Marissa exhaled, leaning back in her chair. He's losing, isn't he? Ethan nodded slowly. Yes, but he's dangerous to the end. We need to remain vigilant. He may try one last move. Suddenly, a soft knock echoed through the safe house. Both tensed, Ethan motioned for silence and approached the door cautiously. Through the peephole, he saw a familiar figure, one of Vaughn's former board members, wide-eyed and terrified. I need protection, the man whispered, voice shaking. I know everything, I want to testify. Ethan stepped aside. Come in, you're safe here. Marissa watched as the man entered, relief washing over him as he realized he was no longer alone. The network Vaughn had built was breaking apart, his control slipping through his fingers. For the first time, Marissa allowed herself to feel hope. The brother she had found, the corruption they had exposed, the journalist willing to fight alongside them, all of it meant that justice was possible. But as she looked at Ethan, she saw the man who had survived 10 years in hiding, the man shaped by fear, loss, and courage. She realized the fight wasn't over, not until Vaughn was completely exposed and could never harm anyone again. She stepped closer to Ethan. We did it, we're going to be okay. He nodded, eyes scanning the perimeter one last time. We're close, but remember, this fight doesn't end until Vaughn is finished, and then we rebuild together. Marissa reached for his hand, gripping it tightly. 10 years of searching, fear, and loss had led them here. And now, finally, they could begin to reclaim the life they had almost lost forever. Outside, the first rays of dawn broke through the clouds. Willow Creek was changing. The gates, once a symbol of secrecy and control, now represented exposure, justice, and the courage to confront the truth. Marissa and Ethan stood side by side, ready to face whatever came next. The brother she thought she had lost was back, and this time they were unstoppable. Vaughn's empire was crumbling, but the fight had taught them something vital. No secret, no corruption, and no hidden crime could withstand the light of truth forever. And as the neighborhood stirred awake, unaware of the storm that had passed, Marissa realized that the life she had fought for and the brother she had found was finally hers again.